I've used souvenir fabric, this time from Paris, to make myself a really comfy pair of pants, pull up, elasticized waistband. Easy fit, they turned out amazing. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and I'm here to share some sewing, actually sewing. I've shared with you some fabric shopping experiences. I believe the last one I shared was when I visited Paris. I got a whole bunch of fabric over there. It was amazing, glorious. So if you've missed out, have a look, because I've chosen one of those fabrics to sew what I'm going to share with you today. And what I'm talking about is a pattern from Pattern Emporium called Coco Pants. Quite popular if you look on the Facebook page. Lots of people have loved it. The Coco is a straight leg pant designed for woven fabrics. It's pull up. You have different types of options for the way that you finish the waist. One is an elastic inside a waistband, which is the common way. You can top stitch that. The other way is to do a yoga waistband with a knit fabric with great stretch and recovery. I wish I would have brought some of that fabric with me. I wasn't thinking ahead. So back home, I have yardage of that stuff. It's usually spandex, 10% at least. It can be an athletic knit, so it could be a mix of polyamide and spandex, or sometimes I use cotton spandex. What I like is that it has at least 10% spandex, so it'll really, really keep its shape, and that means you don't need an elastic in there. So that is one option for these pants. And the other one is for you to use those decorative elastics that are exposed. You just sew on the top. I've never done that. I actually would never do that because I find the elastic a little bit uncomfortable with my skin. I know not everyone's sensitive like that, so that could be an option if that doesn't bother you there in the midsection. You can use a low or a mid-rise. Whenever I see these described as such, it's always going to fit differently depending on your height. So you just need to measure the rise to see where that's going to fit on your body. So I don't let that deter me from making a pattern, because I know I can always get it to hit where my waist is. So that's absolutely fine. You can sew patch pockets on the front. These patch pockets have a slant opening that is interfaced there so it doesn't flop. You can leave it without pockets, or you can sew inseam pockets on the sides. Those are the types of pockets I would never sew. So if I have to choose between inseam pockets and patch pockets, I'm gonna go with the patch pockets. You can sew these at a cropped length, sort of ankle length or full length, and all of these have cut lines for regular and taut inseam. So that's really helpful. And it's 50% off. There are periods of the year where Pattern Emporium runs these sales that last about 18 hours-ish. The sale is already happening, 50% off. It finishes at Saturday noon, but in Australia, so depending on where you are, it'll be different. So whenever you click on the website and there's a sale, you always see a banner there that tells you how many hours left you have. So that's always helpful, so you don't get confused with the time zones. So I'm in the UK right now. The sale will end like at 2 a.m. on Saturday. If you're in the States or that area, it's going to be Friday night at some point. So that's a general guideline. I will leave you my affiliate link in the description box and at the top of the comment section. If you click on it, it'll work. I'll receive a small commission back from Kate. This is one of the ways I make an income creating helpful content here on YouTube. I love doing it, and your support means the world. So if you'd love to support me without it cost you anything extra, my affiliate link is a great way to do it. You need light to medium weight woven fabrics. I think for these, drape is nice, but I don't think you have to have the drape. It just depends on the look that you want. So I think a lightweight cotton that is not too stiff would be okay. I also think a light denim that is not too stiff would be okay, but that's just my opinion. I wouldn't use a cotton sateen, a cotton twill, a canvas. I think that's way too heavy. I think 100% linen would be okay. Linen rayon blend, linen cotton blend would be perfect. And then if you want real drape, then you go for 100% rayon. It could be rayon crepe, rayon satin, just plain weave, or a rayon twill or a tencel. I've chosen a fabric I found in Paris. I'll show you some clips from that video, but you should go watch it because it's fun. Over here outside, they also have coupons. I found a table full of 100% cotton, and I found one that I like. It's so soft. It's got me written all over it. So I'm getting this. It's only 15 euros for 1.5 meters. So I think it's amazing for the quality. It's super, super soft. One that really stood out to me was only 1.5 meters of 100% cotton. It's a really soft cotton. It's not really stiff. It's not quilting cotton. It's just really nice, and I thought it was going to be appropriate. It's black and white. I don't need to match up any of the pattern in there, so that's good because 1.5 meters is the bare minimum that I need for a pair of pants. So I was happy about that. So my fabric choice was easy. Now, there is one problem that I have because the pattern calls for 1.5 inch elastic and the waistband is designed for that, to fit that size elastic. I've only been able to find 1 inch and 2 inch over here locally. So I thought I'm just going to adjust my waistband to match that 2 inch elastic, and that's it. It's super easy. Limitless sewing, you can adjust things. Because this pattern is an older pattern, it doesn't have the full size range as the newer ones. So you'll see sizes from 6 to 22 Australian, up to a 51-inch hip. Now the ease is really comfortable. I would just plot my measurements and sew the size that you see. You can see the chart here with mine. I'm a size 16 Australian. I wouldn't size down. You're going to have about 4 inches of positive ease around the hips, which is perfect for this style. I wouldn't want less. So I would just stick to that. I wouldn't be sizing down or sizing up. I think the ease is perfect. I'm always going to draw in my seam allowance and measure the rise of these pants, especially because they're described as low or mid. I knew I was going to start from the mid because I get the highest rise there and go from there. If I pin on the waistband that is for the 1.5 inch elastic, then I need different adjustments to my new waistband piece that I created for the 2 inch elastic. So with my 2 inch elastic waistband pinned on there and measuring, I don't need any changes in the front. It's perfect. To the back, with my waistband, I need to add 1 inch. If I'd used the other waistband, I would have needed to add 1.5 inches to the rise to get it to my waist. Look, for my body shape, I'm an hourglass. My waist is defined. If I have anything with an elastic, it's going to ride up until it finds the smaller space. So I can't really rock a low or a mid-rise. It just has to be at my waist. So I adjust all patterns to match that. With my adapted waistband, it made the rise 1/2 inch higher, which made all the difference. It made the adjustment so much easier because I just had to add 1 inch to the back, just in the rise, tapering to nothing on the side. So it was super easy. After I'd sewn and tried it on, because I cut the longest inseam, I just had to cut off 1/2 inch just to match my length, and that was perfect. I'm going to share the sewing with you. It's so easy, and if you've never sewn pants, this could be one that you can actually sew. It's so easy. The seam allowance is 3/8, and yeah, I loved sewing it. It was a blast. No stress at all. I'm doing the patch pocket, and there's a fold line there. This is supposed to be interfaced, so just the part that folds in. But I wanted to double that interfacing just because my fabric is sort of floppy. I don't want the pocket to slouch, basically. So I just doubled the amount. I drew a line here on the fabric and I interfaced all of that section. Now I'm going to extend this again, and now that I've got all that section fused that I want, I'm going to finish cutting it out because I'd only trimmed it partially. So modified block fusing, even for patch pockets. I always do it like this. So that's how the pocket is. This is on the straight of grain. So this is super stable. Even though it's slanted, it's very stable. So when this gets folded in, I have all of this area interface. That's what I wanted for this fabric. I've got limited resources here, and the pattern calls for 1.5 inch elastic. So there's a waistband that's not going to work for me because I have either 1 inch elastic or 2 inch elastic. I don't want to cut this smaller. I think that ruins the elastic over time. So I'm just going to use a wider elastic. So I've modified my pattern piece. So if this is 2 inches, I need to make this 4 plus the seam allowance. So in centimeters, that is 5 centimeters times 2 is 10 plus the seam allowance here and a little bit more. So I've got 13 centimeters right here. So when I sew this, you can see the seam allowance is going to be 3/8. There's still a little bit of wiggle room for the elastic there inside the waistband, and that's how I want it to be. I don't want it to be super tight. Here are my pieces for the Cocos. Not many pieces, I just have 4. This is the back, that is the front. Pocket pieces for the patch pockets. You can also do inseam pockets, but I'm not going to do inseam pockets. I prefer patch pockets. The waistband, mine is a little wider. I already showed you to fit my 2 inch elastic. I've been working on these pockets quickly. The first thing I did was serge this edge. It was folded out like that, and then I pressed it. You can see I've got extra interfacing. This is extremely firm. It's not going to gape. It's not going to deform. And then this long end, I've pressed it in by 3/8 and the bottom as well. These edges, I've already serged them also. This is raw because it's going to be stuck in the side seam. This is raw because it's going to be caught in the waistband. So basically you just have to serge the long end and the bottom and this edge right there. I've got it hand basted in place so it doesn't twist, and now I'm going to top stitch this right there, and then I'm going to place these on the front leg. I have red basting thread everywhere. I've done it by hand. So I'm going to do this all in one go. Here on the hip area I'm going to be basting, and when I get to the pocket I'll be sewing on the edge. It'll all be continuous and it'll fix this patch pocket in place. Then I can forget it's there and just continue putting the pants together. I'm doing something very boring, but it's gonna be worth it in the end. I'm serging everything, all the edges, the side area, the inseam area and the bottom, even for the hem later. Not the crotch, because that is the only place where I'm gonna sew them and serge them together. All the other seams, because my fabric isn't that lightweight, I prefer to sew and press open. The way Kate has you sew these pants is my favorite way. It's how I choose to sew most pants, and it's to put one leg together first and the other. I have the front and the back right sides together, and we're going to sew inseams and side seams. It doesn't matter which order you go. Once the leg is done, I'm going to go press everything. I have serged all the edges, so I don't need to worry about that. And then we put one leg inside the other and sew the crotch when I know I'm going to sew a lot of seams, I find it more effective to just sit down and do one task, like pinning everything. I wouldn't want to just pin and sew and pin and sew. I find that less effective, at least for my brain. If my fabric was lighter, I would probably be sewing just raw edges and sew and serge later with the seams with both layers together. But for this cotton, I thought it was nicer to press open. It's always going to differ with the fabric choice. Both legs done, pressed. You can see how neat that is. I have one leg that's wrong sides out, the other one's right sides out. And I'm going to put this one inside the other through the crotch area. And we're just going to match it up, and we're going to end up with a type of U seam. So this is the way I like to sew pants when they pull up. When you have other details like a front zipper and patch pockets on the side seams, then you can't really do this. But with this you can. So I'm just going to match everything up. The back is there, the front is there, and we're going to get this crotch sewn, also 3/8 so an inch seam allowance. I'm going to sew it first and then insert it, and then basically the pants are done. All that's left is the waistband. I couldn't cut my waistband in one single piece with just one seam, so I managed to cut them matching up the side seams. It just the way my fabric worked, I was working with the minimum. So I have it here pinned right sides together after sewing those seams. I serged this edge right here that's hanging down low, and the raw edge is the one pinned along the waist. The idea is that afterwards I'm going to bring this back like this, the serged edge, just cover the seam, and then I'm going to stitch in the ditch through there. On the right side, right in there, you're not going to see it, leaving a gap to put the elastic through and then closing it up. It's one way to do it because you avoid sewing through lots of layers. You basically end up sewing just through 2 layers of fabric for this type of waistband, the way I like it. And from the outside, it's going to look the same. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this right sides together, 3/8 seam allowance. Everything matches because I cut my waistband to match perfectly the top of the waist there on the top. Remember, my waistband piece is a little wider just to match my wider elastic, but in essence doesn't change really that much. Okay, there's the waistband. I love this print because I don't have to match up anything. So I've folded it back. You can see the serged edge there. It's just covering the seam. I've put my pin in the ditch as such, exactly where I'm going to sew, and I made sure to catch the fabric here. I think the fabric is stable enough for me not to need hand basting. Sometimes I do hand baste, but in this case I think I'll be okay. I'm using my regular presser foot and I'm just sewing into that space. I'm going to start somewhere around the back, and then when I'm almost at the other side, I'm going to leave a gap to put the elastic through. I've got my elastic coming out. I've threaded it through. I left about a 2.5 inch gap right there. And to join them up, I'm just going to put these together like that and do big zigzags across instead of overlapping. I think it's a really nice way to join elastic, and you don't even feel it when you're wearing it because it's so flat. So it's an easy way that takes just a couple of seconds to do, not overly complicated. I go over this a few times just to make it stronger. And that's it. See how flat it looks, and it just joins it up. So that can go back inside. I've got pins to show me where to start and stop. Otherwise I can't see. I've tried them on. I'm super happy with the fit. The only thing I'm not happy with is that the elastic does fold in there. It's not such a huge, thick, chunky elastic. So I'm going to have to top stitch this. Now I am stretching out this elastic, but I'm not pushing the fabric through the feed dogs. I'm just stretching it to keep it nice and straight, but that's all. I'm going to do 2 rows, so I'm dividing this into 3 sections. It's just amazing when you're sewing and you know they're going to fit properly, because I'm sure the rise is fine, the ease is fine, the style of the pant is easy fit. It's not like sewing jeans. So voila, I'm so happy. Check out this print. It's amazing. I'm always going to remember my trip to Paris. It actually, when I was looking at fabric, my whole family was around. By my family, I mean my husband and my son. So I'm always going to have great memories with these pants. I don't need to match up anything. It's all random, so I just cut them and sewed them. There is my waistband, a little bit taller to match the elastic I have. I have 2 rows of top stitching right there. Stitching the ditch method was a little bit different. This is the area of the pockets that I wanted extra interfacing, so I have a little bit more. And they're quite big. I mean, they're quite deep. You could fit loads of things in here. I'm never going to do that. So that's why I just did edge stitching. If I wanted them firmer, I would probably done a 2nd row of top stitching just so they're a bit more sturdy. I was seriously happy sewing these. And have any of you been watching the Winter Olympics? BBC 1 and 2 show them all day, every day. I've never seen so much coverage of the Winter Olympics before. So I've been watching everything, and I've been holding my breath as people throw themselves down mountains on skis and snowboards. Yeah, I don't know how they do it. This is how it looks like on the inside. This is just covering the seam, stitched in the ditch from the other side. It's very flat, it's very comfortable. My seams are pressed open. You saw I serged before sewing my seams. I love that. 1 inch hem allowance, so relaxing to sew, relaxing to wear because they're so comfortable. So let's see these with this little top I have here. These are my Coco Pants from Pattern Emporium. I sewed a straight size 16. I have the mid-rise option, but I adjusted the rise at the back to fit me better. The print is interesting. I absolutely love it. This is 100% cotton. I bought as a coupon in a shop in Paris. It's light, but it's not too stiff. I have the taller inseam length, but I chopped off about 1/2 inch at the end when I tried it on, and it's the perfect length for me. Black and white is going to go with any color, so I've chosen this pink top. I have a cami underneath. That is the black layer that you see there. I'm going to hike up my top so you can see the waistband. I needed to use a wider waistband than what the pattern calls for because I didn't have 1.5 inch elastic. I only had 2. So I modified my waistband piece to be a little bit bigger to match this. Very nice, pull up. I've top stitched it twice. Very, very comfortable. There you can see the feet on the back is very, very good. Just perfect. No patch pockets, but the print doesn't need it. I did choose to add the patch pocket here just because I had enough fabric, and why not? But I could have done without as well. This slant area in the patch pocket, I put extra interfacing all around this section, so it's very firm. It's quite big actually. You know, I'm never going to use this to hold things, but they are there and they're very nice. You can do a yoga waistband or an exposed elastic, you know, those decorative elastics, but I just went with this option because it was the only one I could achieve right now. The rise in the front I kept as per the original, although because my waistband is taller, I think that affects that. So that's that. At the back, I have an extra inch from this area, tapered to nothing on the sides. Love how these turned out. They were an easy sew. I think if you're new at sewing pants, you could definitely sew these. The fitting adjustments were minimal and I'm very happy with the results. Souvenir fabric, always a great thing. I love this fabric I found in Paris and I'm always going to remember when I wear these pants. If I want to wear these right now, I would probably have to wear some fleece tights underneath because it's pretty cold still. But I'm hopeful I can wear these out here in March and April before I leave, hopefully. So I'm super glad I made them. Paris souvenir, not the traditional type of souvenir, the one that you make yourself, just the best thing. Have a go at these. They are super easy. You're going to be very satisfied. It's those projects that you can be happy with in a short time because it's not complex to sew or take the measurements and fit as well. Love making them, highly recommend. Remember, they're 50% off, great value. That's all from me. I'm going to see you soon in the next couple of hours again with more sewing. I'll see you then. Bye.